powerful because rook c8 back to c2 was my initial passive plan. And at that particular moment, it was just like say one step back just to be passive for a moment. Then you can strike forward with getting the bishop out of play and connecting your rooks with each other so the knight was free to go. And Magnus doesn't have much time. The pressure's on him, whereas we can sit and ponder about all these different moves. But that's a moment that can make or break a world championship.
Right.
And he's in some danger right now.
No, he's in real danger. I mean, it's Magnus, so I'm always giving the Magnus bias-itis here, suffering from it for years. I assume that he'll figure out a way to set up some sort of defense, but Black is the one pushing for a win.
Yeah, I think his time was not such a huge factor when he had safety, and he had safety for quite a while.
Yeah.
Until he made this rook d1 move. Now there's no longer safety because Black actually won that queenside, and will come away with a passed a pawn. White will get his counterplay. There's still 2 rooks and a knight, which are very dangerous and very sharp and tactical. But now it's out of control, and his time puts him at serious risk, especially here.
Robert, you made a really good point. We were initially considering that rook retreating idea as you said, just almost an instructive point, right? About how sometimes you have to coordinate and retreat before you can go forward. And the more we looked at it, the more we were like, hey, there's actually something very, very strong about that idea. But the rooks being protected frees up the knight and all the ensuing potential tactics against the king. But I feel like we were almost in our own echo chamber. We were convinced this was the idea. Maybe in hindsight, Magnus clearly didn't even see this idea.
Retreating moves are difficult.
Yeah.
They always are.
Yeah.
And he's trying to take an active defense right now. He's going to lose the b4 pawn. He can put his rook to c4, maybe his rook to d4, but it's getting close. It's getting close to big trouble for White.
If we go back to that moment where he could have played rook c2 and knight f4.
Yeah, let's analyze it real quick.
Sorry.
Right here.
King h2,
Yep.
bishop b2, rook c5, queen d6, rook c2, bishop a3. And at some point, I think they'll start making a lot of moves. But let's say knight f4, queen b4, rook d7. Maybe Black has the move e5. That's the only move I can think of that he might have here. Because he has to somehow deal with... I see the eval bar is
Says White's winning.
going way up. There is probably something very strong. Maybe it's simply knight to d5.
And then
followed
the
by
rook comes in. Maybe.
But yeah, the queen on f8 actually defends things. And if knight h5, king g6, that's why I thought things weren't so easy.
Whoa, wait, Jan did not.
But let's see the game, yeah.
Take the pawn. Knight takes h5 was the answer, though, so at least we solved that. But all right, e5 instead of bishop takes b4.
Well, we mentioned this on the previous move as an idea.
And the point is the knight cannot move anywhere besides b2 at this point because the rook is hanging. So as much as we're looking at ideas like this, not possible. And
so what if rook to c4? Is it going to be queen to d5 there? It looks like queen d5 might be a very strong response.
White can't coordinate, yeah.
Yeah, white can't coordinate.
you know why e5 is so strong? It's exactly the type of move you play when your opponent's under time pressure. Rather than going for bishop takes b4, the forcing lines that, even if Magnus is worse, these are forcing lines that he probably calculated and is going to do his best to then coordinate a knight f4. e5, with Magnus only having 2 minutes to make another 5 moves, is an absolute nightmare.
It looks like a good practical chance. It's not easy to find a move for white.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm wondering if knight b2 is an option.
That's what I was thinking. Just retreat the knight to b2, but there's queen f.
And then just go back.
Because there's no e4 there.
I'm wondering if, I mean, something you have to consider even bishop takes b4 things. But that's a bit sad if you have to start playing knight b2, knight d3, and hoping your opponent has no...
Okay, we have moves. Rook to c2 is on the board after e5. Black can still take the b4 pawn as the knight remains pinned to the undefended rook on d1.
So what does he want after that? I don't see an obvious move.
Maybe knight b2 then? I mean, there's queen
Knight
f5
b2.
still.
Yeah, or yeah, queen f5. Looks excellent, looks winning.
It's nerve-wracking.
Well, I'm sure he has something in mind, but this doesn't look good.
At some moment, we have to look for a bailout from Magnus, where, let's say bishop takes b4, rook a2, just to put something like this in the board, a3. If you could take on b4, give up your rook, and then take on
blockade.
a3, and if you could make this work where you defend the f2 pawn, white doesn't lose. But with the awkward placement of white's pieces, you can get in some trouble.
No, I was just about to say it's exactly the type of, we call that a defensive sacrifice. If white could take off everything on the queen side, even if at the cost of maybe even a knight and a rook in some positions.
sorry, that position actually, if we keep going just one step further there,
Okay.
I think we have a good example.
So which line?
Rook A2,
Wait, black.
bishop B4,
Okay, bishop B4.
rook A2,
Okay.
A3, takes on B4, take D1, rook takes A3, queen D2, this whole line. And if you play knight D3 and E4, I think knight F4 gives up the F2, but you can bring your knight back to G2, and I don't really know if,
This should be a fortress.
yeah, it looks like a fortress.
But actually, maybe this is an instructive move. Instead of queen to D2,
Let's bring up the analysis board here real quick, just to make sure that we don't lose sight of the live position, because queen D5 is on the board, and we're looking at this. Okay, so not bishop B4.
what did they have in mind? It was bishop B4 was such a natural move. I'm
Yeah.
kind of puzzled.
Jan is trying to keep this confusing for Magnus with these moves, but he might risk and blow his chances.
You know what
if
white
he's
has
not
as a move
careful.
here? There is E4 as a move.
For white?
No, this probably doesn't work out. I was trying to like trap the bishop.
Okay, there are 4 moves to make, though, with only 48 seconds. This
Rook
is- this
D2,
is-
that's good.
That's an excellent
You're
move.
connecting your rooks, which means the knight can move, and you're covering the A2 square. So even if things get bad, perhaps you put one rook on E2, one rook on A2, and say you have an outside pass pawn, but you actually can't make any progress. But black needs to be careful as well.
Yeah, I was going to say, this move prevents you from taking B4.
Yeah, so queen B3 looks like the move for black. Well, white is threatening rook A2 now, so black should play queen B3.
Guys, look at Jan's time. He also has 4 more moves to make.
Wow,
To
They're-
reach time control.
They're both super low on
This
time.
is, again, there is no increment here, which means what you see is what you get.
Yeah, this is this is pretty. He can actually play knight C5 and rook D7. Maybe he's going to go on the
E5 at the end.
and
Oh, wow.
knight E6, just king G6. Yeah.
Yeah, but he goes rook A2. See, this is what we were talking about earlier, that if we get the trade of the minor pieces, then I don't think white,
But white wins the pawn directly.
Right.
Bishop B4,
Yeah,
rook
white might
D to
even
B2.
win in that endgame. This-
rook D to B2.
Rook D to B2.
Yeah.
We should see that.
That's what
line.
I'm saying. No,
This is
if we
gonna
get
happen.
bishop B4, rook D to B2, queen takes knight, rook takes bishop, and the A pawn falls, white is the only one with winning chances in that endgame.
Yeah, white is only one winning chances, but I think that it's still a draw
Yeah.
because white's king will always come into perpetual if the rooks get too active.
Okay, 1 minute for Jan to make 3 more moves. 2 more moves from Carlsen will be required before time is added. We have 32,000 of you on YouTube, 87,000 of you on Twitch for the hypest moment we've had so far in the 2021 FIDE World Chess Championship.
And what's so scary is Jan has to recognize that the 2 rooks against queen scenario,
Yep.
with all pawns the same to the board, that's a draw. Because in your head, you may think the rooks will team up against a pawn like we talked about earlier,
Right.
and I'll lose. And so might be afraid to do
What?
that.
Wait, what just happened?
You
You
went
played E4,
E4.
knight F4, knight C5?
Oh, no, this could be trouble.
Jan is blowing this position here with no time. Now,
Well, like queen B4, if rook D.
Look, knight E4. Because if you take the knight, you lose the bishop.
Yeah, I was also thinking if rook D to C2, those pieces are all trapped. They can't move, but maybe white can't make progress.
we're at time control, by the way. Magnus Carlsen has reached time control. Jan nepomniachtchi has 1 more move to make or he loses on time.
Oh my gosh, and what's the move here? Like, it's not easy because queen takes E4, rook A3 is the worst version of all of this. That might just lose in the spot because white will bring the other rook to A2, win A4,
Jan has made his move.
queen B3.
Oh my gosh.
Rook D C2 still seems like the right move to play knight to D2. But wait, I want to go back one moment since they've reached time control, and neither of them has blown the game away.
Yeah.
I'm wondering about this moment. Rook D to C2 here. Black cannot move any piece besides his king and pawns. And let's say black plays F5. White doesn't have an obvious move, but there's actually knight takes A4 now.
And the bishop is lost.
And this is a very different version. The pawn on E4 actually takes away all of black's perpetual check possibilities. This one might be really bad.
This could have been winning for white.
This one might just be winning because you gang up on F7 and there's no way for black to create a perpetual check possibility or to create F4 counterplay. Black's pawns are fixed. You can even try to gang up on F5. That might be the real pawn.
Yeah. Because if you win F5, you defend F2 and a lot of sharp
And
lines.
then black's done. So this one was really dangerous for black. I think Magnus might have missed.
What a tough
chance.
move to see in time pressure, obviously. A subtle rook shuffle rather than the forceful knight capture.
I think
There's also queen B1, I guess, after.
queen to